The one that we hear over and over is horror of horror, he crossed state lines, Jesse. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines. And then usually you hear with an illegal gun, which turned out not to be true. But here's something Matt Taibbi put together that kind of gets to the heart of it. Listen.
Driving across state borders. He's driving across state lines.
Across the state line, across state lines.
Across state lines.
Across state lines.
If you look at the Rittenhouse case, he crossed state lines.
Drives up to events.
Across state lines.
Came across state lines.
Kyle Rittenhouse, who traveled across state lines.
From out of state, out of his own state.
Came across state borders. Whenever you have a situation where a 17-year-old is crossing state lines,
White teenager.
He crosses a state line, drives 30 minutes into Kenosha.
Remember, he came across the line.
He crossed state lines.
Crossed state lines.
Across state lines.
He crossed state lines.
Kyle Rittenhouse, who crossed state lines.
That's so great. What's with the obsession?
I mean, and it's not just sort of not picking the worst pundits. The ACLU put out a statement mentioning this, even the ACLU. We've known for a long time this is completely irrelevant to the case for a couple of reasons. One is under Wisconsin law, at worst, his possession of the rifle was a misdemeanor. It turns out it's not even that for technical reasons I think you've discussed on a previous episode. He also didn't cross state lines with it. His friend's stepdad bought it for him and gave it to him in Kenosha. Also, he's from Antioch, Illinois, which I believe is on the Wisconsin border, and he had close ties to Kenosha. This is like, I'm from Boston and Western Mass is very close to Albany. It's like someone who works in Albany but lives in Western Mass. Oh, they cross state. It's completely meaningful. It's helpful though, because anyone who mentions that, you immediately know you don't have to take them seriously. It's like a flag saying, don't take me seriously.
That's a good point. Yeah, exactly right. I think they think it makes him sound more nefarious. Like he's at home, he's putting on his camo, he grabbed his AR-15, he drove halfway across the country.
Yeah, no, he's saying,
I
hope I can successfully sneak across the Illinois-Wisconsin border, despite all the fortifications there.
Exactly. But, it just sort of speaks to me to their duplicity in trying to make a story sound worse than it does. The reaction, of course, has been insane from the press, and so we talked about earlier, the Pauls, but these know-nothing celebrities and sports figures really take the cake. I mean, they truly I tweeted out something over the weekend saying, you ask any of these people, these especially the athletes and celebrities tweeting out about this case, ask them to name 2 out of the 3 people who Kyle shot. Just 2 out of 3, even one. I'll take 1 out of 3. Ask them to say the name of the judge. Do they even know what it is? Never mind how to pronounce it. Never mind ask them what provocation law is in Wisconsin. If they can't answer those questions, they should shut the hell up about this case. They shouldn't have an opinion. They didn't watch it. Joe Biden admits he didn't watch any of the trial, and yet still he's angry in the verdict. Shut up. Shut up. Yeah. You forfeited your right to have an opinion because you're not informed. And you should not be fostering any opinions on it since you have none based in fact. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. Of course, Colin Kaepernick weighs in. I would bet everything I own Colin Kaepernick knows nothing about this trial. Absolutely nothing about this trial. He talks about how what we just witnessed was a system built on white supremacy, validating the terrorist acts of a white supremacist. This only further validates the need to abolish our current system. White supremacy cannot be reformed. But this brings me to my favorite tweet. This is the winner, Jesse. This is the winner. And trust me, I looked through a lot. Mark Ruffalo. Okay, you ready? We come together to mourn the lives lost to the same racist system that devalues Black lives and devalued the lives of Anthony and JoJo.
JoJo, Joseph Rosenbaum is JoJo, right?
Yes. Anthony Huber and JoJo. So our convicted child molester who faced 11 counts of child rape for raping boys as young as 9, who was fresh out of the mental institution, not on his meds and so on. He's now Mark Ruffalo's little JoJo, and he finishes it up with, quote, "There is no doubt that people who face this young man were more afraid of him than he was of them." What the hell does he know about anything?
I think the problem here is, I think the cat's a little bit out of the bag. In the age of social media, everyone's going to chime in on everything. I am more frustrated with journalists than with Mark Ruffalo, but I do think, given that the whole thing that started all of this was looting and rioting in Kenosha, and that there's obviously some connection between what people say on social media and how angry and scared people get, at a certain point, people need to take responsibility if they're going to have huge platforms and acknowledge that they could be contributing to genuinely dangerous situations that, I'm not saying anyone's going to start rioting just because Mark Ruffalo said that. But when you have 10,000 people spreading the same misinformation, making the same inflammatory claims, at a certain point, there's a risk that you're lighting another tinderbox. And I just think people should recognize that.